Welcome to the May Community Update. As a reminder, the slides are uploaded on the MWR webpage under the big button on there that says Community Update, and then tomorrow we will have the video link posted as well. A special thank you to the Red Cross for providing us coffee, and at this time I will turn it over to Colonel Morgan.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Slide, please. So here's our agenda today. There's a little bit of a formatted change as we kind of move forward in the future. So the senior commander for the Army and the Air Force will open up with some remarks based off of some things that we've seen over the last 30 days at each one of the community update. So somebody from the command group at the Corps will be in here. And obviously right now it's Major General Stammer. And Colonel Snelson's here from the wing. We're going to focus on some ready and resilient programs that kind of emerged out of discussions at the last Community Health Promotion Council. And then based off of some RFI, some questions and some discussions that have been going on with regards to alcohol sales and behavior that we've had over the past few months. So to be honest, we had some issues about a year ago. We took some steps to try to reduce that. And ironically, based off of the sampling we took, alcohol sales went up. So we're going to readdress it in some other ways. So we're going to kind of look at some new things. But more importantly, Dr. Nell's going to get up here and talk to you about some of the things that are going on with some data and what we're mainly concerned about. Commanders have their roles and responsibilities on what they do with UCMJ, and that's not my place here. But it's also about what some of those programs are that we have, but targeting with the season that's coming up with this summer and what we've seen in the past. Last month was child abuse prevention. We're seeing some increase in complexities in some non-physical domestic violence and also with some child abuse. And when kids start coming home from school, we see that kind of pop up. So we want to kind of discuss that as well with you. And then Madigan will go into financial readiness. I'm sorry, we're going to just give you a quick heads up on that to talk about some things with the PCS season. Oh, that's coming up for you. And then we'll go through the regular updates from Madigan and then some other updates with the team that's here below. Next slide, please. Getting us back in balance is still obviously our theme, letting us know what you want or need and what we must do here from the command side. Slide. Our priorities there, and we keep trying to drive this community update through those 5 priorities on the right, because it's about the families and it's about the airmen and it's about the soldiers, and then obviously there's some sailors and Marines here too. Slide. I'm not going to go over this. I'm going to kind of put Mike on, Colonel Place on a, is he here? He's not here actually, HTY. So we'll get back to you on that. These are available, but these are the kinds of the questions that you asked us last month. With regards to a lot of child youth services, they're there, they're available for you. I'm not going to go into detail here based off the sake of time. So, slide. So, sir.
Well, I'll disappoint you, but the CG's in D.C. Oh, Zadie. All right, hey, so all about the families, right? So I didn't see a lot of you out here on the SAPM run on the 29th, the color run for sexual assault awareness. Everybody back there? No, I didn't see a lot of you out there, though. So, but there were 2,000 people out there, soldiers, families, strollers, all that. A lot of great information is going to come out of this. The advertisement for that particular run probably didn't get what it was needed, at least in this crowd. But rest assured that a lot of our families were out there and participating in a great event that was very smartly run by MWR over there at the MWR tent. A learning environment in here, and I would say you're only going to be as good as if we start asking Dan Morgan a lot of hard questions. And as you were going to put Mike Place on the spot, I will put him on the spot, and I'll ask the first question. Hopefully it'll get answered sometime while we're in here. Hey, dude, what about the traffic lights? It's like we're being held hostage. And I've only done it once. So we would like to know about the traffic lights. Who else wants to know about the traffic lights at DuPont Gate? Okay. Dan's going to have the answer. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sir?
Dan, don't go anywhere. You can't run yet. Hey, General Stammer, Dan, appreciate the opportunity to say a couple of quick words. I had joked the other day at the last CHPIC that airmen, even though we're outnumbered 5-1 by our soldiers, that what we lack in numbers we make up for in sheer awesomeness. So the truth of the matter is, whether it's our families, whether it's helping our service members or airmen in need, or whether it's establishing that sense of community and that sense of belonging, all of those issues, they transcend service branch, they transcend the type of uniform that you're wearing. So this venue is very valuable for that. The challenge that I put out for folks here is to not just get the word out, but to continually to assess, are these programs of value? Are we targeting the vulnerabilities that are facing our airmen and our service members and helping them and their families to adapt so that they're more resilient? We've had a lot of resiliency tests here lately over on the Air Force side of the house. So this is something that they're working with the whole Joint Base team. This is a special base. This is an incredible community, but there's still a lot of work for us to have done. So thank you.
All right, so keeping in theme with resiliency, in Armed Forces Community Service, we've done an overhaul on our Master Resiliency training and our Armed Forces Family Team Building courses, and we have combined the best of both and have come up with this agenda here that we're going to be offering classes scheduled out through the month of November. So we have all different places, times, opportunities for you to take resiliency training. You can take it all, you can take snippets. It's good stuff. A lot of thought went into this so that we get the best of both for everything for all of you. So dates and times are all there, and I believe a flyer is on your table. And up next is Karen Fox. Talk about, no, I'm sorry, Dr. Darnell. Excuse me.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Okay, so everybody's favorite topic, right? Alcohol. I know everybody loves talking about this subject. A few things that we want you all to be aware of as we move into the summer months. Last year, spring and summer were our highest rates of DUIs, and that's what you see in the Q3 and Q4 from last year. We don't have Q3 data yet for this year, but we do want to make sure that people are cognizant of the fact that alcohol-related incidents and DUIs do tend to go up when the weather gets nicer and people are out doing more activities. Same thing, alcohol use and boating, lots of different issues. So just be responsible, make sure you've got a buddy that can look out for you. A couple other things that we want to make sure we highlight is we do a unit risk inventory with most of our units every year. It's an anonymous survey, so people are a little bit more honest about what they're doing in relation to their alcohol use, so you see a little bit of the statistics there. Risk indicators, you can see the list of things that are risk indicators and stressors, PCS, and those kinds of things. A couple other things I want to make sure people are aware of as we go through transitions. Check with our office so that we can talk to you about the state laws for DUIs. There are some differences here in Washington that not everybody's aware of, and so we want to make sure that you're tracking on that stuff. Also, the kinds of things that we see the greatest numbers and challenges with is people coming in the gate, smelling of alcohol, people coming in the gate with smelling of marijuana in their car, with marijuana paraphernalia in their car. This is a legal marijuana state, so everybody needs to be conscious of those kinds of things. And we really want to do the prevention piece. We want to get ahead of the problem. We want to help people before they get in trouble and it affects their career and their life and their family. So that's really what we're trying to target here. Barring any questions, I will hand it over to Ms. Fox.
My name's Karen Fox. I'm the program manager for the Family Advocacy Program, and the prevention side of family advocacy, which I oversee, we deal with family violence. And so basically our responsibility is to increase awareness and education regarding domestic violence and child abuse. So when we look at child abuse, there's 4 major categories. There's physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Neglect tends to be the most common form of maltreatment. And there's a subcategory under neglect that's called lack of supervision. When you look at our stats, these are the referral rate to the treatment side of family advocacy program. And you can see that for the most part, we're looking pretty good. Our referral rate is going down, except for the last quarter, there's a bump. And we don't really know what that bump, how significant it is until we see really what the next quarter is going to give us. So are we trending up? Is that just an anomaly? Are we going back down? We'll know next quarter. But in the meantime, we still have to continue with our prevention efforts. And those prevention efforts are going to entail the summer months. So when we look at the summer months, we think there are going to be kids that are out of school. And then we think that on this military installation, we have a lot of parents who have this false sense of safety when it comes to their children. And so when you combine those two things, it takes me back to that subcategory under neglect, lack of supervision, and all the accidents and injuries that can occur when we're not paying attention to our kids. What many people fail to realize is that there are age and supervision guidelines here at JBLM. And so far, part of our awareness campaign is that we are going to put that information out there, create that awareness, and hope that parents make good decisions for their kids. And you can see a piece of that in the JBLM Home Alone policy. So part of our awareness campaign is we're going to be going through CYS in the schools and other community agencies, and we're going to be publishing this. We're going to be creating an information sheet that's going to be a little bit more visually friendly than a policy memorandum. It's going to have those pieces of information, and in addition, it's going to talk about child safety tips for those kids that are able to stay home alone. In addition to the child safety tips, we're going to have some information and resources on child care and youth activities in our community. So beyond working with our community agencies, we're going to start a social media campaign. We're currently working with our marketing department on that to get this information out as well. And then the program specialists on the prevention side are going to be going out into community, and they're going to be talking about child development and safety issues over the summer months. So we have a supporting agency with that too. It's the New Parent Support Program. Right back there, the table that I came from, Cassie Hallstrom is here, and she is the lead for our New Parent Support Program. She and I are going to be available afterwards to answer any questions that you have. Any questions regarding her NPSP program in terms of home visitation, play groups, and parenting classes, you can ask her those as well. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Arnie Norum.
Thank you, Karen. My name is Arnie Norum. I am the manager of the Financial Readiness Program for Armed Forces Community Service. It's coming up into summer, and summer is typically PCS season. The one thing about PCSing is it shouldn't be a surprise that at some point we're probably going to be PCSing, and we should be planning for it. So from a financial readiness perspective, we need to be planning and preferably have an account where we're putting some money away for some of those expenses that we're going to have as we move. Prepare for some of those major costs of new rent when we get to the new installation. Some of those costs that we got to pay out of pocket before we get reimbursed. Reminder to stay within those weight limits. Let's not go over and get charged extra on that as well. And with the government travel card now being used for PCS, it's imperative that we use it correctly and for those expenses that are going to be reimbursed. And usually the problem we see the most with the travel card, it comes down to when we file that travel claim at the next duty station, either there's expenses that I'm not going to be reimbursed for that I might have put on the card, or I have overspent my money, or it comes down to the split disbursement. So I want to remind you that when we fill out a travel claim, we have the right to do a split. We're supposed to be doing a split disbursement to pay off all those expenses that are on that travel card, so it goes directly to the card. What happens sometimes with our younger soldiers is they tend to get all the money to them, and when that money comes to them, it doesn't always happen to go to that government travel card and pay the debt and creates a debt for them. One of the big things I want to make sure you're aware of is that no matter where you are, where you're traveling to, say I'm in the middle of nowhere, there's no base around, Army Emergency Relief can be reached through using American Red Cross. That's the phone number there. I encourage all soldiers PCSing to carry that with them because you never know when that flat tire might happen or any of those things where you may not have the ability to get the help. To help people plan for the PCS season and saving as well as all the other financial things that can happen to people, you can make an appointment. I also have a longer slide deck of PCS Move information for financial, and there's a link in the notes page. So if you pull this up, you could have a link in the notes page if you look at that. Is there any questions for me? All right, thank you. Let's go, please. Madigan.
Good morning. On behalf of Madigan Army Medical Center and Colonel Place, I have the opportunity to talk to you about the Mental Health Month. So May, Mental Health Month. So next slide, please. So I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about some statistics, some advances in how Army behavioral health is being delivered across the Army, bring it down to local, and what does it mean here, and how you can help. All right, next slide, please. So I got this information from the Army medical surveillance activity. You would be surprised. It's a mystery to me how we still struggle so much with mental health, given how many people struggle with mental health issues. So about 1 in 5 children or adults are affected. And across the Army, there's about 1 million encounters, behavioral health encounters in a year, and about 80,000 days worth of hospital beds admissions. All right? So about 50, so in terms of treatment, about 56% of people who need mental health treatment are not receiving mental health treatment. And that's for a variety of reasons. You often hear stigma. There's at least two different kinds of stigma. There's the stigma that one does to oneself, right? We still have this idea that if you have to go in for mental health treatment, that somehow means that you're less than or that you are weaker than. And so it's what people say to themselves that keep them reluctant to go. And then there's also what we say to people, and sometimes not even realizing what it is that we are saying. And then about 15% of active duty soldiers in 2014 were diagnosed with some kind of behavioral health issue of one sort or another. Here at Madigan, we provide about 6,000 to 7,000 psychiatric inpatient bed days a year, and we provide about 126,000 outpatient encounters. So we are fortunate here at Madigan. We have the largest in terms of personnel, behavioral health assets of any Army installation. So, and we have robust programs. So on your tables, there is a brochure that has an orange color quick reference guide. This is our newest brochure just talking about all of the kinds of behavioral health services that we have here at Madigan. And again, they are quite robust. In addition to that, over there on that table, there's another stack. So, but between all the tables in that stack, we have about 100 brochures. If you decide that you want more for your organization, please let us know. And then about 590. So one of the things that Army Behavioral Health has done is they've come up with a behavioral health data portal. And a number of your soldiers, family members that come into behavioral health, when they do, for most of their visits, they will sit down and do something on that system. Why is it such a great system? Because it is actually allowing us to understand the scope of problems and issues that need to be addressed better than we ever have before. Unfortunately, we have anywhere from about 9 to 14 suicides in a given year here at JBLM. What I want you to know is about 590 people, when they go in and on that kiosk, about 590 soldiers will endorse suicidal thoughts that are to the degree that they say they have had some intention. That's profound. The take home in providing you that message is to let you know that going to behavioral health services does make a difference in terms of suicide risk. Again, we don't want any suicides, but we get about 9 to 15 in that range a year. But we've got about 590 people that we know of that have experienced suicidal ideation with intent. Only about half of the soldiers on this installation that commit suicide have come to behavioral health. So we don't know what the total number of people are on the installation when you look at soldiers and family members that are struggling to that degree. But I do want you to know that behavioral health does make a difference in battling suicide. Next slide, please. So this, just real quick, is the services that are available. So Army Behavioral Health has standardized the kinds of services that exist depending on the size of the installation and the hospital at that organization. We have taken that standard model of how they do it and broke it into 3 lanes here at Madigan. There's the active duty service lane. So many of you commanders, many of you have probably heard about the embedded behavioral health program. That's where we should have been in behavioral health 20 years ago. We are there today, and that means that within those maneuver brigades, there are behavioral health clinics right there, and we get very good feedback about that. We also have developed a behavioral health process action team here where Madigan gets together with key elements here on the installation to make sure that we are being proactive in addressing readiness. Some of the recent things we're looking at is another mod was released from CENTCOM, and what do we need to do to get ahead of trying to proactively address readiness issues with regard to that. And then we have behavioral health providers that are aligned to battalions. We also have a specialty behavioral health lane. I've talked to you about our inpatient psychiatry. We also have an RTF for addiction of treatment right now serving soldiers only. We also have intensive outpatient service. That is serving soldiers only. However, we have also recently started a intensive outpatient within our CAF biz for adult family members. We're seeing how that goes. We have a multidisciplinary clinic that has all kinds of things in it like neuropsychology, health psychology. And then we have child and family behavioral health lane, and that provides services to our family members, adult children, and some retirees. One of the wonderful things that we have is we have some embedded providers within the schools that have heavy population of DoD service member families in there. Family advocacy program, so we provide the treatment side of the house. Next slide, please. So how can you help? One is you can lead through demonstration. Show a willingness to seek help for yourself and others. We talked about 2 kinds of stigma, self-stigma and then the stigma that is put on us. Be proactive. If a person is struggling with a behavioral health condition, the sooner they get in, the more likely we are to be able to help them and get them to full recovery and perhaps to even grow from that experience. Be willing to share personal stories. There's a website, www.realwarriors.net, that comes out of the Defense Centers of Excellence, and soldiers can go, service members can go on there. They can video themselves in their own story and upload that. And there are some important stories on there from people of all ranks. Partner with Madigan. Help us improve access to behavioral health care. One of the ways that you can help us improve access is show up for appointments. The commands have done an absolutely wonderful job. Our no-show rate in behavioral health is amazingly low given how high it is out there in the private sector and in many areas. So I just want to say thank you to the commands for taking that so seriously. And I believe it's 1-2 in particular has done a fabulous job in terms of the behavioral health appointments. So everybody's doing a great job. Special shout out to 1-2. We lose about 11 to 13,000 care opportunities annually simply from people not showing up. So please do that. Know the resources. We've got group psychotherapy. That is just as good treatment as individual. So be willing to be open to those kinds of things. Visit our Madigan website, Military OneSource. All right. So now we have EFMP. Ms. Jackson going to come up here and give some words.
So good morning. I'm going to talk about 2 different sections within EFMP. The first part I'm going to talk about is our readiness side. And first off, here's where we're located. We're over in the hospital tower. The readiness part of our program is where we work on ensuring the family members have the care that they need when they go to where they're going to. It doesn't do the service member any good to try and get a great job for his career if he gets there and his family members can't be taken care of, and then he's distracted by that constantly. This is something that has to be updated every 3 years. We will walk them through it, help them do it with their providers, and this will also include educational enrollments when they're going to another country and they move out of the public school system. Next slide. And then the second part that I'm focusing on is the family member travel screening. This is actually a tasking that we've received from personnel. Any service member who is coming down on orders to go overseas or remote locations, their family members are supposed to go through our office. That's part of the Army reg, the Air Force reg, all those regulations. It doesn't matter whether they're enrolled or not. What we're doing is we're looking at trying to anticipate what they may need so that we can make sure things are available. And one of the things I usually will give them as an example is if you have a family member who needs to have annual hearing tests because they have some decreased hearing in one ear. They don't have a hearing aid or anything, but they need to have it checked out on an annual basis. Then we need to make sure there's an audiologist available who's going to take care of that for them. Because the service member will always be taken care of, family members not so much. I've listed some examples of places that if people are coming down on orders, and people are very surprised when I tell them, you have to come through and see us if you're going to Hawaii. Yes, Hawaii is the United States. Yes, we have a great medical center there. It's an island. There's only so much health care available on the island. And one of the things I've learned about the small places we send people to in Norway, which is more of a NATO joint venture thing, there are no pediatricians within 150 miles. Does your child really need to see the pediatrician, or can family medicine take care of things? That's the kind of stuff that we work on when we're doing the family member travel screening. We're not looking at keeping service members from going. We're looking at making sure that their families can be taken care of. Is there any questions that I can try to answer? Sir?
So I just wanted to emphasize again on behalf of Colonel Place that we have Women's Health Week coming up, and we would really love for the women to get in there, talk to their primary care docs, make sure that you're getting all those advanced exams taken care of so that we can make sure that you stay in good health. Next slide, please. So these are some important sources of information that Madigan regularly updates, and we would encourage you to visit each of those. The Guardian, our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Flickr, Instagram. Thank you very much for your time. I'll be remaining here if there are any questions for me. Thank you.
All right, here we go. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview, a context of this, and then I'm going to give it to the chief here, and then you can throw some stuff at him. He's got a vest on though, so it'll be okay. So look, we have negotiated over the last couple years a $500 million traffic plan that is going to expand I-5. And so a lot of work went into that, and so all the exits that we see towards JBLM are going to have these big clover leaf. It's going to be graded out and wider and so forth to help the traffic flow on I-5. The community generally blames us, JBLM, because I-5 runs right in between and we're a big base. But we doubled in population, but then we've leveled out. Over 1 million people will move to the South Sound Puget area over the next about 5 to 10 years. The fastest growing, one of the top 5 fastest growing places in the United States is here. In Seattle, if you rent or sell a place, it will stay listed for about 12 days. It's white hot. If you have a house up in Seattle and want to make money and sell it, it's going to be gone in about 10 days. It's gotten below 30 days in Pierce County. So you just kind of see that happening. So how are people going to actually move up a corridor to get to Seattle to work? Well, it's called a high-speed train. And so they are grading out stuff too for all the trains. You've seen all the railroad track stuff. So this is not just about making the highway big. It's about moving commuter traffic between large population areas that actually connect down to Portland. And so this is part of a larger scope and scale of Washington State. So just everybody knows, Lewis North on one side, and then Lewis, Maine, and McChord on this side, I-5 in the middle. I don't own that as a garrison commander. I don't want to, but that's just a part. So there's a lot of political discussions that are going on in this that we do on behalf of all the commands here. So I'm going to turn it over to the Chief to kind of go into the details about this as well, and then we'll take any other questions. So.
All right, good morning, everybody. Ted Solon, our police chief here at JBLM. The Colonel gave kind of a pretty good rundown on the high-speed rail as it comes through here and why it's here. I want to do a couple of things with you today. Talk a little bit of public safety about high-speed rail, and then talk about the topic du jour, which apparently everybody's here for, and I do have my body armor on, so bring it on. The impact on our gates, and I'm going to try to give you some mitigation strategies from a traffic standpoint that are not necessarily the answers you may want to hear, but it will actually make your lives a little bit easier. So let's talk about high-speed rail. Pretty much everybody in the room has, at one time or another, dealt with a train crossing in front of you going over the road. The vast majority of the folks here probably have never dealt with high-speed rail. Most of the rail we tend to deal with at the various crossings are freight trains. The typical speed for a freight train in an urban area is somewhere in the vicinity of 35 miles an hour. So we've all been through it. You pull up, the lights start to flash, the bell starts to ring, and you sit there for about 2 to 3 minutes waiting for the train to show up. And then another 2 to 3 minutes for the train to pass, and another 2 to 3 minutes for the gate to open up. That creates that false sense of confidence that I can beat the train. That's standard freight. These are not freight rails. These are high-speed rails, both light rail for Sound Transit and Amtrak. These trains will be traveling at approximately 75 miles an hour when they cross through JBLM. Their last stop is in Lakewood. Once they get out of Lakewood, they're going to begin ramping up the speed, and they will be somewhere between 70 and 75 miles an hour when they cross through the installation. The safety issue for us as an installation is that where you normally have about 2 minutes before that train shows up and another 2 to 3 minutes for it to pass, the current timing of these intersections is approximately 45 seconds to a minute from the time the light flashes till the arm comes down, till the train passes, till the arm goes back, and you can proceed through there. That's the point that I need to get out to everybody in the command. Do not try to beat this train, because you will not. There's approximately a 5-second window from the time that light starts to flash and that arm comes down for that train to come through here. About 3 years ago, down at Solo Point, we had a car pull out in front of a freight train, collided with the freight train. That vehicle and train stopped approximately 1.5 miles up the road before we could start recovering body parts. If a high-speed rail hits a car here at exit 120, our main gate, it'll be approximately 2.5 miles before that train can stop. That's the forces we're talking about. The timing of the intersections, which I'll get into here in just a second, is specifically intended to facilitate that safety. One of the things that we need to pay particular attention to as we're talking to our folks is the message, do not try to beat this train. These lights are set up specifically to ensure that these intersections are clear, the rails are clear at the point at which that train arrives, because there's no opportunity for that conductor to identify the hazard, begin to apply the brakes on the train, and hope to stop that train before they cross literally all the way through the installation and stop somewhere down in the vicinity of Lacey. That's the message our troops need to get. Every single day we watch people with the current set of lights, and we're only testing them, attempt to bypass the lights at the main gate and at DuPont, which we'll talk about here in a minute because I know it's a topic of great discussion. So please push the word out. You will not beat these trains. You absolutely will not beat these trains. For Armed Forces Day and Freedom Fest, I've got Department of Transportation coming in to do some training. If you want some specific training for your folks, we can set that up as well to get the word out. I realize most of us are invincible. I'm a 30-year retired vet myself. You're not going to win this argument, so please get that word out. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the DuPont gate, but your main gate will have the same issue. So the issues you're currently experiencing at the DuPont gate are a direct result of the fact that the intersection on the opposite side, on the north side of I-5, going into DuPont, the timing of that light signal was specifically changed to facilitate high-speed rail. They're expecting, at least initially, when this thing goes active in the fall, 10 runs north and south, Portland to Seattle, on a daily basis. Those runs may increase or decrease based on ridership. The current expectation over the first 3 years of the life of that the high-speed rail is that will actually increase to 15 to 20 runs a day because they think they're going to have that kind of ridership on a regular basis. What does that mean for us? The timing at the traffic signal going into DuPont will not change. The impacts you are seeing at the DuPont gate will not change because they are specifically designed to ensure that when that train shows up at 75 miles an hour, there is nobody sitting on the track. That's causing that cascading effect back in our gate. Here's some things that you can do to help mitigate that. We have other gates that bleed into I-5 on the installation. that oddly enough have very little usership on outflow. How many folks are familiar with our Mounts Gate over by the prison facility? About a third of the people in the room. If you are going southbound on I-5, or northbound for that matter, the worst possible gate you can try to get on the freeway on any given day between 1630 and 1800 is the DuPont Gate. That is absolutely the worst. There's no queue-up space. There's not a lot of lead time to get on the freeway. And if you're trying to go south, particularly now, as I think one person said it, forget it. If you use those alternate gates, the Mounts Gate going out by the RCF, you can come across on Center Drive and get into DuPont. You can get on the freeway south of a lot of these backups we tend to see on any given day. If you're going northbound, we have a logistics gate. When the construction for Unity Bridge opens up again, you can use Unity Bridge. You got Woodbrook Gate at McChord Field, you have the main gate. Psychologically, I understand it seems like I'm going way out of my way. But when you time that, it's about 12 additional minutes. You'll spend 12 minutes sitting at DuPont Gate right now trying to get on the freeway. And you're actually moving, or 15, or 20, or 25, depending what time that you hit that. So what I can offer you is the fact that we have alternatives to get off of the installation. And some of these gates were specifically opened up to help spread that traffic flow as it leaves the installation. We have approximately 110,000 people on this installation on any given day. We're, what, 7th largest city, I think, in the state? Like every other community in the area, we are dumping the vast majority of our traffic onto a freeway that was never designed for this volume of traffic at the same time every single day. So we try to spread that traffic flow out. Integrity Gate on North Fork is a great way to get on DuPont Steilacoom Road. That's also going to allow you to use Center Drive. So what I'm asking folks to do is kind of broadcast to folks, because we're all creatures of habit, we tend to go to the same place. Look at the other options that are available to you to get off of the installation, and you will find that your life's a lot easier. We extended the hours of the Mounts Gate to 1900, so it's 1500 to 1900 now. Is that correct? Over the last week that we did that, between 18 and 1900, there's 34 people using that gate. I guarantee you that we probably had more than 34 people sitting at the DuPont Gate between 18 and 1900 last night trying to get off the installation, who are typically going southbound, trying to get down to Lacey or trying to get into DuPont. The unfortunate reality of the situation is the external infrastructure is not going to change. It is absolutely a safety issue. So if you can start marketing to your folks, there are alternatives that, although a little longer in distance, are typically about the same or in many cases less in time, and you actually don't get hung up as bad in the freeway traffic because the corridor jams up between 116 or 118 typically and 123. The logistics gate pushes you out at exit 123. You're right in where the freeway expands up to 4 lanes. So there are options available to you. Additionally, Washington Department of Transportation on their website, the same website where they have the cameras, some of you may have seen those under WSDOT, WSDOT, they've actually got maps on there that show traffic flow, red, amber, green, black. And the cameras where you can see that. JBLM actually has sensors on the installation which show our primary routes and the condition of those primary routes. You can use that app before you leave out to take a look at where the congestion is. You can almost guarantee on any given day between 4:30 and 6, if you're trying to get on the freeway between 118 and 123, it's going to be clogged up. The other thing I'm going to ask command teams help. We have a significant problem on this installation with aggressive driving behavior. That aggressive driving behavior is contributing significantly to the problem we're currently having at DuPont Gate. As you're going out the DuPont Gate, if you're in the right lane, that right lane is specifically intended to go on I-5 northbound. In the last 4 days, we've cited 17 people taking that right lane, going all the way onto the ramp, and then turning left across the intersection back into traffic because I'm going to go to DuPont and there's not a darn thing anybody's going to do about it. Okay, so I'm asking folks to curb your driving behavior because a lot of the problems we are having on the issues with our gates are a direct result of aggressive and intolerant driving behavior. We do unfortunately have some of the most aggressive drivers in the state right here on our installation. And if we can kind of help folks be a little bit more patient, kind of roll with the flow and follow the existing rules, things are going to get easier for anybody else. So with that, I'm going to take a little risk here and open it up to questions. Center mass, please. Yes, ma'am. Wait.
So we live over in Broadmoor, and I had this problem several times now that people are trying to go over to that prison gate, and they just run that stop sign.
They do. Yes, ma'am.
And I called the MPs,
Right.
and I feel like nothing has happened.
Yeah, so you're correct. That is one of the intersections on the installation that is significantly problematic. Yeah, I have 10 patrols available on the installation on any given day. I try to put them where I best can, but unfortunately I can't always have them everywhere I would like to have them on any given day to kind of control that. Although we do hit that area, it kind of goes back to the original point of we have some extremely aggressive drivers on the installation, and if we start monitoring ourselves and curving our own driving behavior, we reduce that risk. We'll continue to focus on that area because I know it's a problem area. There's a couple other housing areas that have similar issues that we'll try to continue to focus on as I have patrols available. Sir. Yes, sir.
So Ted, just a quick question. It's really probably two parts. Number one, it seems like we have perhaps solved one safety problem, maybe a little bit early given that it's May and these are going to start going through in the fall, so I guess we'll endure 6 months of pain even though there's no trains here yet and none anytime in the next 6 months. But okay, given that, solved a problem of drivers who should never park on the tracks anyway, regardless of what the light length is. Now we've created another problem, aggressive drivers, because the light length is over 3 minutes now, while you sit there and watch 1 or 2 cars pass through the intersection when you're in a line of 50 cars and watching 1 or 2. So is there an opportunity to revisit the length of the light, not the synchronization or whatnot, but 3 minutes seems excessive in this case. And then the second question is, why now instead of waiting until closer to the fall, maybe 30 days in advance rather than 6 months out? Thank you.
So I've actually posed both questions with the Department of Transportation's Railway Division. Of course, the first question was the why now. We understand that they needed to synchronize those lights, but what we're also asking on behalf of this community, as well as on the DuPont community, is now that you've got the synchronization down, do us a favor and turn it back, and maybe do that about a month out, so we can start curbing driving behavior. And I believe that's being discussed at the Department of Transportation level. The length of the lights is really based on the Railway Division's calculations on the speed of the train and how much time they're going to need to calculate that. That could potentially change over time, but they've got some magic formula that they use to kind of set the timing of the lights. We've asked them to take a look at that. They are. Whether or not that changes anything, I don't know, but we're going to keep kind of keeping our finger on the pulse of that. Ma'am.
As a very frequent user of the DuPont gate, lunchtime is heinous. So just a thought, maybe opening that Mounts Road and Center Drive gate around like 11:30 to maybe 1:30.
Mounts is open in the mornings. Mounts Gate is open in the mornings for inflow for normal PT time. Yeah, Mounts stays open till 9. In the morning stays open till 9. So yeah, it is inbound only. So the question on the DuPont gate, to be perfectly honest with you, and that's really kind of a command question, every gate that we open up is manpower. Yes, sir?
Okay. So here's what I've done. So you heard a couple things that he brought up, so I don't know if you kind of picked up on it. So I never thought, being a U.S. Army, infantry officer and stuff, that I would get into traffic studies. So this is what we do. We monitor minute by minute, and we look at everything. And I've seen where we put stop signs, because I wanted stuff in certain places, and it has a huge impact all the way back onto I-5, particularly in right by where our headquarters is and Broadmoor. So we were looking at making some changes on the gates in order to give back soldiers back to their commands, mostly 7th ID and then 593rd Secondary. If we gave them back, it would be about 13. And if we gave them back, DuPont Gate would be shut on the weekends at certain periods. Okay, so this is a very tough balance. And so you asked a very good question, and let me put this in perspective. 10 patrols available per day. So to have more patrols to be safe and provide that security on the base, more soldiers got to go on the gate so I can take them off the gate so I can put them on the road. 10 patrols. Don't think about Broadmoor. Think about JBLM, all the way over to McChord and Barnes Gate, all the way over there. So this is what we're trying to manage with the reductions that we've gone through. So a legitimate question, and then back to your question. I went down to DuPont Gate a couple times. Approximately 70% of the people that are driving out of DuPont Gate are wearing a uniform. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're doing. Probably going to the Mexican restaurant in DuPont. There are some defects that are on the base, which we're trying to actually improve as well. But they might be going to appointments. They might be going somewhere else. I don't know. There's a large percentage of them are actually in uniform. So it's a very tough balance. It's a manpower type thing that we have to kind of figure out too. The light things, what Mr. Fuller brought up is a legitimate thing, and that is being put into negotiations. But again, this is tied to, like what he said, the safety and the governor of the state as well, so.
I think right now it's the underpass is closed to go to the north part, and that's really making it much worse,
It is.
I believe.
Steve, that project is
How
expected to
long?
be done at the end of the week? Right, so that's the final paving project. That's expected to be done at the end of the week, and the Unity Bridge will be available 30 May.
So on the construction, so I guess people can figure out why we do construction during the summer months, right? Because we can't really do it during the winter months. It just doesn't facilitate some of the construction. That's just why there's an increase. I don't control the weather or nature either, but I wish I could, but okay.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So can we change the Mounts Road gate to in and out instead of manpowering the DuPont gate? Let me finish, Dan. Instead of having manpower at the DuPont gate that's totally backed up, can't we have that other gate in and out because it's only one direction, right?
Yeah. So, Lori, this is a good question. I talked to General Stammer about this, and you know, this is a political one too. And this gets into the complexities of stuff. So I talked about what we've done with the negotiations of hundreds of millions of dollars to expand all these gates. This is the #1 concern for Representative Congressman Heck, too. And so one of the considerations that we had is the first plan that when I first got here, the plan was to do something at DuPont Gate, and it was an absolute non-starter for me, force protection-wise. And so we're going through some redesign on the DuPont Gate. Based off of what we're having now with these high-speed trains, an alternative is, and then, you know, the next person that's up here, you know, 2 years from now, everybody's gonna complain about this too. I could shut down DuPont Gate completely and then build out Center and make it the main part of getting out that way. And then that protects traffic getting onto DuPont residential and getting into the right direction. There's semis and all kinds of stuff get tied into that. But Lloyd, bottom line, that's what I'm looking at as an option. But that's another thing that gets tied to dollars, and I have to negotiate that with the state of Washington and Federal Department of Transportation as well for funding and DOD. That's the complexity to it. And this is about paying it forward because it's not just about us that are here. It's about people that are coming here after us, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is something we're thinking about, Lori. So it's a valid point. Thank you.
Anybody else? You're gonna let me off the hook easy. Ma'am.
If I can ask one more. Is it possible to change that no left turn? I would never do that, of course. But the no left turn yeah.
Yeah. So the short answer is no. So the Department of Transportation owns that intersection. We don't. And part of the reason that that intersection is specifically a no left turn is because of the secondary impact left turns at that intersection cause backing up into DuPont Down Center Drive. It affects, one of the problem is if traffic turns, so the ramp meters, which everybody loves when they come on, are designed to handle approximately 100 cars per, I think, 15-minute intervals, if I remember correctly. The left turn puts more traffic up against those ramp meters. A lot of those issues, a lot of the things that are done outside the installation are specifically intended to try to mitigate the massive traffic impact that is having on the freeway because of the massive growth in the area. So left-turning traffic overloads the ramp meters on there, and the Department of Transportation has put that specifically through. Secondarily, DuPont suffers significantly if that's a left turn because it causes increasing backups into DuPont, which then causes some public safety concerns for the city of DuPont.
Okay, one last one, I promise. So I know that it's based off of the train, the signal timing. Can we not adjust our side? Because if you're just trying to go north or south from the DuPont gate, you don't need the light on the other side that gets close to the railroad tracks.
The Department of Transportation is also looking at that light and looking at the timing of the two. Unfortunately, every government is a bureaucracy, so you have two separate divisions managing that light. It's a perfect storm. Railway division is managing the railroad crossing. Freeways division is managing the other light system. And so one of the things that they're trying to do is pair those up, but also because of the secondary effects of how those lights have to sync is what they're trying to figure out with counts as well. The unfortunate reality is because of the change of that intersection, the capability of that intersection to handle the current volume of traffic has significantly dropped. And so that's why we're trying to give folks some alternatives to get away from that intersection, because until they rebuild it, the infrastructure simply is not designed, and particularly now, to handle the volume of traffic that's trying to go through it. And so that is all being worked. Admittedly, it was a little bit of a surprise to the Freeways Division that this came online as quickly as it did, and they're working through trying to time that. I don't see any significant change in the way traffic flows through there because of the way that whole set of infrastructure is designed and how you manage turning traffic, straight traffic, going in various different directions. But it is being looked at. There was one question. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just going to say another chaotic time seems to be in the morning right after PT time. There's a mass exodus of people seeming to go home to shower and get dressed to come back. And I've been caught in that twice trying to get to 8 o'clock appointments and DuPont. Some people have to do it every day. So I just was going to see if there was any chance of revisiting, even if Mounts Road stays inbound, if Center Drive could be outbound in morning hours, the morning rush hour at all.
Right. So in addition to manpower, and I'm not telling you no, obviously that's a command decision, but one of the other concerns with Mounts, and the reason it is not being used as two-way traffic, the way that road is currently designed, with the shoulders, the width of the road, and the lack of lighting, it was determined as we evaluated that there's a significant traffic safety concern as you begin trying to put traffic two-way through there, and we significantly increase the likelihood of head-on collisions. We try to work that road as often as we can, and that is probably one of the areas that driving behavior is amongst the worst, except for Eastgate Road on the installation. And so as that road potentially widens, if the exit 118 potentially happens, then that changes the dynamic. But the current configuration of the road does create significant public safety concern when you start talking two-way traffic on that roadway. And there's the secondary manpower requirement that additional manpower for longer periods of time would be required.
Yeah, you might well jump in.
Dan, one for On Post. The light at 12th and Liggett, that we did the reconstruction on the sidewalks around there, opened that up. That is now one direction green only at any given time. So at no point, if you're on Liggett, can you go both directions, and that takes it a little bit longer. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, God, I don't have an answer. I'll send an email directly back to you, or Mr. Perino will. But I appreciate you asking that. That's good. Okay. So some of the questions that were asked by Lori and Claire, it'd be nice to be able to do it. We all go to sleep on Friday, we wake up on Monday, and we could fix that. But based off of the construction plan that I brought up from the very beginning, all those things will change. The lights are going to change. All that's going to change as we build out these gates, which hopefully will make it better for everyone else. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to affect anybody in this room in a positive manner unless you come back here in 5 years, and hopefully it's done. So Mr. Fuller can watch it unfold for the next 10 years. But, okay. Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's talk about Liggett, okay? We're in the annex where they worked, and the roads are great. I mean, the lights are wonderful and everything. But if you're standing over where Survivor Outreach Services is and you're trying to cross the street to go over to Waller, the water is setting very high, and they drive through there like crazy. And if you're standing there, you are sopping wet. And they don't even pay attention to that. They're going through the water, and they're hitting everybody standing at the light to go across the street. And you're just getting, the old joke of standing there and all of a sudden, bam, you're in there. It happens daily when it's raining out there. We asked the guys when they were building the road, how did they fix that? And they said something about as soon as they pull out the black paper from the drain, that it should not do that. But it's still standing there, and it's still pretty deep, and you cannot stand close to the light when the cars are running through there because you will get sopping wet.
Okay, yeah, so we'll, I just looked over at our DPW director, so he'll take a look at it. I'm not trying to be facetious, I would just don't stand close to the water for right now. And then we will address that as well, so, but we'll take a look at it. Steve? Okay, we're going to move on. Can you repeat that number again, please? 967-3131. Option 2. I've never used it, but I'm sure it works.
Yes.
Okay, who's up next? Buck, where are you? There you are.
All right. Real quick, all these events are in your packet. A couple of things I want to highlight. We've got the Special Olympics of Washington coming up the 2nd through the 4th. Again, still great opportunity to volunteer. Their website is set up, and there's still a lot of opportunities. Again, not the full footprint like you've seen in the past. This year, there will only be 2 events on Joint Base Lewis McChord. The bicycle event, which will be up on Lewis North, and then the powerlifting, which will be here on Lewis, Maine in the theater. But again, great opportunity. The Shred Days, as you can see on there, we do have Freedom Fest coming up, and I do want to plug in for the Camp Lewis Centennial event. You'll be getting more information on that as we go forward. But again, 100-year anniversary of JBLM. It's also the 100-year anniversary when Mr. Fuller actually came in to the Army. So we're going to have him in period dress out there as well. Last point, folks, I understand a lot of you during non-duty hours recreate in the close-in training areas on Lewis. I got it. 2 things I would ask you to do. You know, you're off-road bicycle riding and going for runs and that kind of stuff. First, check the websites with MWR and with Range. Make sure that any areas you're going to be recreating here at the Lewis National Park, as a lot of you like to call it, please make sure those areas are open. Our operations tempo is going up. A lot of our reserve units are here training. So many of the close-in training areas that you're used to that are near your housing areas are being used by some of those units. So I don't want you to come around the corner right into a fuel truck. So please be careful, especially in the close-in training areas. The second point, the last point I'll make is we've been very fortunate this year with wildlife coming out of hibernation. The bears up on the ridge lines, especially in close-in training areas, Bravo through Fox, basically Engineer Bluff on the other side of Broadmoor. So, number one, if you're going to be out there, we have had folks that have been out walking dogs, actually the same guy twice in 1 year, who has had encounters with bears. All I can tell you is this: don't be out there alone and don't try to outrun the bear. Just make sure you outrun whoever's with you. So whoever you're with, make sure it's somebody you don't like. But watch for postings. If we do have bears out there, there'll be signs up. It's just historically, as they come out of hibernation, they tend to get a little bit interested. So again, make sure you're with somebody you don't like. Don't try to outrun the bear. Just outrun the person you don't like. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The post-wide yard sales, are they still the same day as Special Olympics?
I will refer you, ma'am, to the Ministry of Fun.
Okay.
Because nope, plans, ops, training, mobilization, aviation, security, emergency management. That's
Okay.
that little narrow area is mine.
Okay.
So, and Ministry of Fun does not have an answer yet.
Okay. Because
But he will.
Okay. The last 2 years, they have been the same day as Special Olympics. So, what April? Okay.
I have no
We
idea.
don't know yet.
I will be followed by someone much more competent than I am. And I believe that would be housing. Mr. Hernandez, best dressed man in the Joint Base Garrison.
What a joke. Hi, good morning. On behalf of the Housing Division, I just want to remind everybody of the Headquarters Army survey going on for family housing residents and how important it is to provide that feedback. We all have heard comments about housing that we have lived in or our service members have lived in. This is a great opportunity to provide that feedback directly to the Headquarters Department of the Army. So that was sent out, should have been sent out to all the service members residing in the housing via email. If they did not get an email to invite them to do the survey, they should go see their district manager. Their district manager is where they can confirm their email address so they can participate. Why is all that important other than just providing that crucial feedback? Is because if you look at the slide, there's a weekly drawing for Apple Watches, Chromebooks, and PS4s. And there's a grand prize at the end for 1 month's rent-free. So who wants to pass up on that? So my plug is to please help you or encourage your service members to participate in that survey, and hopefully they win. Do I have any questions? Who's next?
Good morning, Kelly from Marketing at MWR. We've got a lot of stuff happening in the next few months. A quick rundown of things happening in May. If you are a mom and you have a son, you haven't made your reservations for the mother-son dance on Friday, you've got about a day and a half to do it. Or if you're a mom or a dad and you don't have a son, you just want to go out and celebrate Cinco de Mayo, we've got a bunch of places on base you can do that. Warrior Zone, Sam Adams, and the McChord Club are all having events that night. The Northwest Adventure Center's open house and sidewalk sale, a great opportunity for you to pick up some used outdoor recreation gear and also check out the inside of those cool log cabins that are out on the lake. If you've never been inside, you can go and see what those are like inside, play some games, pick up some information about outdoor rec, and go and check out the birds and the fish that are out by the lake. Armed Forces Day is coming up in May. Lots of huge military equipment for the kids to climb all over, and the adults, you can climb in it too if you haven't been inside them before. Bring the family out. It's open to the public. They can all come in and check out what we do on a daily basis. And then the mud runs come the 13th of May. You need to register online for that. If you don't get a chance to register online, the price does bump up, and you can register a day of event for that as well. Mother's Day brunch, you'll need to make reservations for that on Sunday the 14th. And then the CG Shotgun Scramble. We do that once a month starting in May all the way through September. If you're a golfer, you want to head out on an afternoon to go and play some golf at one of our golfs. We switch off between Whispering Firs and Eagles Pride every month. Next slide, please. This is what's happening in June. Just a quick rundown. Spouse Appreciation Night over at the McChord Club on June 9th. We've got the summer reading program. Registration starts in June. If you've got kids and adults, you can get cool prizes too if you're an adult and you read, check out your books at the library. 9 Wine and Dine. It's a 9-hole golf tournament, including wine sampling and a barbecue dinner at Whispering Firs Golf Course on the 15th of June. The father-daughter dance is the next day at the 16th of June at the McChord Club. We have a new run that we've introduced this year called Get Fit with Fido. It's a run with your pet. That's the 24th of June. And then the other CG Shotgun Scramble on the 29th at Eagles Pride. And then finally, the next slide is the really small type, but it gives you a really good idea. This is all of the trips and tours that our outdoor recreation program has scheduled from now through the end of August. Find something on that list that interests you and go out and play. Kavika is in the back of the room. He's here from our outdoor recreation program. He has so many things that you can pick up if you want information about scuba diving or whitewater rafting or stand-up paddleboarding. Any of the trips and tours information, he can get you all of that, and he can point you in the right direction so that you can rent the equipment that you might need to do to go out and have a good time. Are there any questions? That's it. Thanks.
Good morning, leaders, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chaplain Mark Gauthier, the Garrison Chaplain and Senior Pastor for the Lewis, Maine Protestant Service. Roll the VBS clip, please. That could be your child this summer. Our goal this summer is to do 550 children participating in both VBS locations. We've already got 200 that are registered, so please don't hesitate. Also, this is a volunteer-intensive opportunity, so we could use 200 volunteers to help us with Vacation Bible School. So if you have people who love kids, this is a great opportunity. Also, draw your attention to some great summer camp opportunities that are highly scholarshiped. These are faith-based camps, but not in-your-face faith-based camps. So great opportunities for folks to participate. I'll help us catch up on time. Any questions from the chaplain section? Yes, ma'am.
For volunteers for your VBS?
Junior high and up.
So 12, 13? 12 and above. Okay.
12 and above.
Thank you.
Very good. And in the spirit of the traffic challenges, we can't fix these, but we can get you on the soul train, and we can help you see the light, all right?
Good morning, everybody. Mike Cruz from McChord Commissary. Our semi-annual case lot sales are coming up. For McChord Field, it'll be 18th to the 21st in May, and Lewis, Maine will be May 24th to 28th. Just stop by to see what you can get. It's posted on the McChord website and also the Lewis, Maine website for what's going to be on there. Next slide. Just a few things. Mother's Day is coming up. If you stop by the commissary, you can go to the deli bakery to bring your own pitcher. They have a little printer that they'll do anything that you request. Cake sizes from a quarter sheet to a full sheet. Ongoing right now is Mother's Day's plants. If you see the Lewis, Maine McChord, they're outside the store. At McChord is inside the store, but just stop by while they last. Memorial Day specials, end of the month. Just stop by or give a call to both commissaries for what your steaks, what are you planning for the weekend. That's all I have. Any comments? Thank you.
Next slide. Good morning, we're back. Next slide, please. I don't know who's, I'm not from the exchange. Nope. Museum. All right, high tech. All right, morning. I'm Eric Flynn. I'm the director of the Lewis Army Museum. Yes, we will be opening at some point. It's a 100-year-old building, so construction delays, uneven floors, God knows what's in the walls. But bottom line is we are now planning to have our grand reopening ribbon cutting to coincide with the Camp Lewis Centennial on 31 August, which means we'll be open up for the long Labor Day weekend. Before then, command groups, we are still available to work on LPDs, staff rides, any other leadership training that you'd like to do. Once we reopen, our galleries are going to be soldier training focused. Our public education and outreach, we are looking for volunteers to assist us as docents, educators, and to work in our gift shop and to assist in our public outreach and education program. If you've got any questions, feel free to meet with me in the back or give me a call at the museum or stop by. Thank you. I'll be followed by Miss April McClung.
Good morning. I'm Sylvia Wells with the Exchange, and just a few brief highlights. We have a lot of fun events going on over the next month. The main stores have a lot of events with makeovers, samples, giveaways. Our concessions have a lot of specials going on. On Saturday, we have the pet show at the Lewis Maine Exchange. It's a big event. Lots of fun. Bring your pet, different categories. Next slide. It's all in one. Oh. McChord Maine Exchange also has a pet show and bike safety event, May 27th. Of course, Mother's Day, there are big things going on in our main stores, so just come by and have some fun. Questions?
Now it's me. Hi, I'm April McClung. I am the president of the Lewis Community Spouses Club. We're an all ranks, all services spouses club. We have monthly luncheons. Our last luncheon, unfortunately, is May 18th. You can RSVP for that at our website. That's at the bottom down there, the lewiscommunityspousesclub.org. We do take a hiatus, June and July, just to get all of our events planned and get ready for the next year, which is going to be another fun year. We do a lot of community outreach if you're interested in joining us next year. And we also give community grants away. So for the last 6 months, probably, I've been talking to you about the Night to Remember, and we did have that event. And last month we wanted to share, but didn't get a chance to, that we raised almost $35,000 at that event, and that is huge for us. Last year we raised $13,000, so our goal this year was $20,000. So we went way over our goal, which was just wonderful. And we were able to give away our community grants this year about $40,000. So that's wonderful for the Spouses Club. We also have a lending closet where you can borrow things for your events, FRG events. And we have Operation Deploy Your Dress. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Next slide, please. So we have a cottage boutique. We have holiday and unit items that's open Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 10 to 2, Thursdays by appointment only. And then I just wanted to give you a little update about our dress giveaway. So we have about 750 dresses in a huge room. You can come, any spouse, any active duty member, any dependent can come right now by appointment only to take one dress a year. We do take a little bit of information because we do have the policy of one dress a year. Our big event that we just had, we gave away 150 dresses. So we were busy all day long. We had people in and out getting dresses. We only had like 3 people that didn't find a dress. So that was a fun event for us. I think it was a great event for those that came. We had personal shoppers that walked with that person and helped them find the right fit for them. This is my last community update. I am the outgoing president, and I just want to introduce you to Ms. Serena West. She's the incoming LCSC president 2017-2018. Thank you.
So again, thank you for coming. It's the hold it, back up. So just go on. Sean, do you have anything? Colonel Bagby? Where's Colonel Place's rep? Do you have anything that you want to add? No? General James, sir? All right, sir. Steve, anything? Nothing? General Stammer, sir? Anything? Real quick, somebody asked a question. I can't remember who it was. Somebody out there. The Lincoln Housing Yard Sale. It was you. 26 to 28 May. So the Lincoln Housing Yard Sale across all of JBLM will be on 26, 28 May, and we'll get that back out through the command channels and the FRGs as well. So next slide, please. The next community update, 21 June in here. It's consolidated for July because we normally do it at the beginning of the month, and obviously we have 4th of July celebration and a lot of block leave, and so we're not going to obviously do that. So we'll do it on 21 June to consolidate for those 2 months, and then the next one will be in August. And do you have anything for 23rd? I'm sorry. Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything. The directors and myself will be sticking around a little bit if you have any questions, and I appreciate all of you coming. And remember the feedback forms that are on there to give them back to us so we can do that. So thank you.